Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply. This video is to bring you a closer look at the Baldwin number 0418. This is a mortise bolt. I happen to have it in the 055 finish, and unless I am mistaken, yeah, that's lifetime polished nickel. So let's take a look at it. That is what a mortise bolt looks like. At least it does with the bolt extended and without its faceplate. That's what it's going to look like. The 0418 is a particular back set. Sure looks like 2 3/8 to me. Edge of the door to the center of that hole, 2 3/8. Okay. Let's also take the rest of the dimensions. Projection of the bolt itself, about a 1/2 inch. This is going to be 2 1/4 by 1 inch. That is a very typical and common size. Very nice quality fit and finish, as you can see there from Baldwin. That's a hallmark of their manufacturing process. You're going to get, of course, a thumb turn. This is a particular part number for this thumb turn, and I will show you where we find that as well. There are different thumb turns available for your use. I don't remember this part number, but I'll let you know what that is when we look at the catalog. This is going to be intended for typical 1 3/8 and 1 3/4 thick doors. Okay, you get the concept of how that works. You will also get a strike plate that looks like it's 2 3/4 tall and 1 1/8 wide. Okay. Behind the strike plate is where you would insert the included plastic dust box. So I can see the wall, but when you add the plastic dust box, it serves to clean off and finish that installation. So you'll always want to accommodate for the dust box. Very often they're not installed, and that's the wrong way to do it. You don't want to see the inside of the back side of the jamb or the wood, whatever is in there, and you don't want the particulate from the wall encroaching into the living space. You'll need a total of 6 screws. 2 for the thumb turn, which will be the short ones, and then 2 for the strike and 2 for the edge of the door, the bolt face of the bolt itself, so a total of 6 screws. The short ones, and these are probably oval head. Yeah, definitely, and they're slotted, and I bet you they're solid brass. Yeah, definitely. The point is of discovering all of that. Yeah, it's all solid brass. You want to be extremely delicate when you are installing Baldwin hardware. It's always handy to have in your toolbox. You know, you're an installer, you're a carpenter, you're a handyman, whatever role in the greater ecology you fit. You want a magnet with you, because that will help you determine what the base material is. The point is if you don't know whether or not the material is steel, stainless, brass, bronze, you may not treat the screw with the respect that it requires. I know that the first time I encountered brass screws with Baldwin, I didn't pre-drill the hole the right size, and I just said, wow, that's no problem, I'll just twist harder. I sheared the head of that screw right off. There's no getting a OEM replacement screw for a piece of Baldwin hardware from the local super mega home improvement store. So you'll want to pre-drill the hole properly and have the right size screwdrivers as well. These are slotted, so you're going to want to make sure that you are using the right stuff. The point is that when you are finished installing it, you don't want to leave any indication on the head of the screw that a tool touched it. That's the goal. That's where the real true talent comes in when you're installing this material. Pre-drilling the holes depends on whether it's hardwood or softwood. Generally, you're going to get away with about 82% the root diameter of the screw when it's a hardwood. You could probably go to about 73% or so when it's a softwood. Is probably what you would end up going with there. A little larger hole if it's hardwood. That covers everything that's in the box. This is the 055 finish, which is, again, lifetime nickel. So it's polished nickel, except that it has a lifetime process. And the science of plating and the science of how lifetime finishes are achieved is its own area of discipline. I simply understand that at the molecular level of the material that's going on top of the base material, there's a bonding that's occurring that gives it a substantially robust, long-lasting type of finish. It does change the look of the material. Technically, this is lifetime polished nickel is going to look different than 050, which I think is just polished nickel. It's impossible for me to tell the difference between the two. However, on polished brass you can, whether it be 030 or 031. I think that's lifetime brass from Baldwin. I can definitely tell. One does not look as natural as the other. However, if you're doing a kick plate on the exterior of a home, you're probably going to want to sacrifice that true polished brass over solid brass and go with a lifetime, because one's going to tarnish sooner or later, and the one has been warranted from the manufacturer to not tarnish. I chose, this is a project actually for me personally, I chose the lifetime polished nickel. It's the home happens to be in polished chrome type finishes, but I wanted the lifetime so that 1, 2, 5, 10, 20, 25 years later, that finish is going to look really nice. It's a coastal environment, relatively coastal environment, a couple of miles off the beach, so there's going to be salt in the atmosphere. So I wanted the robust nature of the lifetime, and knowing it was polished nickel, I wasn't going to have to be too concerned over it matching true lifetime versus polished chrome, for that matter, plated over steel. Let's talk about why you would be looking at a mortise bolt to begin with. Let's do that now. If you are enjoying this video, please click thumbs up or like, and also please consider subscribing to our channel. Let's move on to the rest of the video. So, why you would want a mortise bolt? Well, I'll tell you, the times that I see mortise bolts specified is the following. It is a scenario where you have a door that requires privacy, bathroom, bedroom, except that you're not using privacy sets, you're using passage sets. And I believe that that is a very classic, traditional 19th century way by which to provide privacy over those types of openings. You're using just knob trim, generally, back once upon a time, knob trim. But you still need a way of securing that door. It's a bathroom. And a classic, traditional, possibly all-American way to do that is with passage sets and with mortise bolts above. I believe it's classy. I believe it's elegant. I really like just having the less complicated nature of a passage set down below a mortise bolt rather than a privacy set, which I find to be more cantankerous. More options for it to not work long-term with the latch bolt, with the privacy pin, things of that, or the button, things of that nature. So that's the, in my experience, where you're going to end up using a mortise bolt. Obviously, anywhere where you need to have some sort of privacy over something, or just the bolting of something that doesn't necessarily give security, but does keep something in the locked position. So maybe larger pieces of furniture, woodwork, things of that nature. Cabinets that you might see in high volume applications. But when I see mortise bolts, they're on top of passage sets, and they are what provide the privacy over those bedroom bathroom applications. Certainly you could install them on the outside or exterior doors as well, as just an elegant means by which to bolt that door. The problem with doing that, however, is getting in from the outside when it's bolted. Now, they have obviously a provision that will allow you to get in. There would be an emergency key and then an emergency key cover on the outside, which I don't have here, but with a mortise bolt it would absolutely be normal to have an emergency cover on the outside so that you can insert the key into and rotate that back. But it would be very atypical to have this on an exterior door because it would be so simple, frankly, to bypass, is the bottom line. You'll absolutely want emergency covers installed because you will need a way to get your great-grandmother out of the bathroom when she's in there and she needs to be helped out. That's a true story. My great-grandmother went into the bathroom and she just couldn't get out. And she was fine, no problem. And all of my uncles were there, and great uncles, I should say, great uncles and their nephews, so my uncles. And if you've ever noticed when you turn a knob or a lever, it doesn't really pull the latch bolt all the way back in. It sticks out a small amount. If you take that condition and add it to a door that has very little margin between the edge of the door and the jamb, you could get a situation where you cannot rotate that trim far enough to pull that latch back. And this, this was, she's inside laughing. She knows why she can't get out. And for some strange reason, this home, well, not strange reason, but this home was built in probably before World War I or thereabouts. And the bathroom was in the kitchen, kind of where the hallway started, and it actually swung out of the bathroom. So they were able to quickly pop the pins on the hinges, pull the door off, and got Granny out. So it was all good. The point of the matter is you're going to want a way to get in, is the bottom line. So the mortise bolt can be a way to easily bypass a privacy set that's not functioning. And the reason I say that about privacy sets is because they're, in my opinion, whether it be Baldwin or any of the people they compete against, their privacy latch arrangements are really not ideal. You're pushing in a pin, it won't work. Sometimes they do work, actually. A lot of the time they do work. So I like to avoid those altogether and go with something a little simpler. And then you have complete cohesiveness over all of the hardware in the space. It's all passage sets. And in those doors that you need privacy, you'll add a mortise bolt. Those doors that you need security, you'll add a deadbolt, a proper single or double cylinder deadbolt. But it's all passage sets. Beautiful arrangement. Let's switch to the screen view and let's look at some supporting information. If you've not hit subscribe yet, we would very much appreciate if you did, and hopefully you're enjoying this video. Now, let's get back to it. Here is the item that we are looking at. Speaking of looking at, let's take a look at some images that we have here. Here's the box in the 055 finish. Here comes the hardware now. There's your mortise bolt. That's a 2 3/8 back set. We're going to go over the other size available. The bolt itself, that's that polished nickel thumb turn. I don't remember the part number, but I will give it to you. That's all solid brass. Another view of it. And then your accessories. Strike, the dust box, all the the screws for the strike and the bolt face. There's the faceplate and some of my fingerprints. Then the screws for the thumb turn, which were shown separately. And then the template that's included. Now, speaking of the template, let's show you a couple of additional images. This is in the packaging, in with the door is what this is. Pardon me, this is the packaging in with the hardware. Now, you're going to notice something unusual about this. Fold template on dotted line. We'll look at the, well, here's the template. Fold the template on the dotted line. 2 3/8 mark your hole. 2 3/4 mark your hole. Mark your hole on the edge of the door depending on the thickness. So spot edge and face of door at points 1 and 2. Sure, that's just going to be mark them point 1 and 2. Using a 1-inch bit bore the hole for the hardware. I'll let you read that. Okay. Drilling for the thumb turn. Mortise door edge of faceplate and install. Ensure that the faceplate seats flush on door edge. Caution, the faceplate is not adjustable. So what they're saying there, without using the words, but they do show it. If you notice latch bolts, most of them will have a floating faceplate to account for a beveled or square edge door. You're going to need to mortise this in this fashion if you have a beveled edge door, because if you don't, the bolt is going to come out of the edge of the door at that 3-degree angle, which, by the way, is what that angle is. You've got either 93 here or 87 here. Okay? That's 3 degree. So rather than, if I took this bolt and on its vertical axis of pivoting rotated it 3 degree clockwise, you don't want it coming out of the edge of the door like that. So So you're going to mortise it unusual like this. So be mindful when you're using mortise bolts and beveled edge doors that you will need to account for that. There's going to be some fitting, very possibly, that needs to be done. Now, there is some extended description information. Exceptional quality heavy-duty mortise bolt construction with a stainless steel housing, forged brass components. Yeah, it's Baldwin. It's going to be top-of-the-line materials. Smooth and positive action, designed for use with tubular latches for privacy patio condition, meaning you need to be able to provide privacy function over a door that doesn't come equipped with it. It can be installed above or below latches, depending upon visibility. I have seen bolts, thumb turns installed below. That's more of a European sort of design, I think, where you'll have the key above and thumb turns below. You know, generally here I just would install them above the trim, would be how I would normally see it. Thinking of where a deadbolt would be installed. Doesn't have to be, though. I'm just thinking if it's residential and you're about 3 feet off the floor to the center of your operating trim, where will you put this? At 31 inch above the floor? That's unusual. I probably would opt to put it closer to, you know, 41 inch above the floor, but to each his own. The template I had mentioned, this is going to give you the technical drawing of the 0418. This is specifically 2 3/8, showing showing you the dimensional properties of this item, and basically, by the way, telling you what the sizing needs to be to prep this. So this is going to be like prepping any other piece of hardware. You're going to do your, generally what I would do is I would drill that hole down into the edge of the door first. Then I would counter bore what I need. Well, I would drill for my thumb turn halfway through, whatever side. Well, according to the depth or length of the tailpiece, the spindle, I should say, in the back of the thumb turn. And then I would route my faceplate in the edge of the door. I would then do my strike preparation in the frame. They've got it all here. The depth of the dust box. They give you the height of the dust box, the height of the strike, the width of the strike, etc. So it's all here. Now there's a link below this video, as seen here, to the manufacturer's page. And when you click on that, you'll be able to pull up not only all of the Baldwin products that we sell, but also a link to the manufacturer's website here, but also other several documents as well. Older versions of the catalog, different lines that they have, reserve, estate, etc. I also like the master template index. That's a very large document that shows as many templates as we could find available on the entire Baldwin line. So if you're looking for a template and it's published by them, it ought to be here. I do like the Baldwin Estate specifications and price list document that is 10 years old at this point, because it is a well laid out piece of equipment. And I've searched Control F on my keyboard for 0418, and they're showing us exactly what the application is. Passage knob with mortise bolt. This is what they're going after. There's a reference to that emergency key and an emergency cover. 0418, the third instance where it comes up is going to be a reference to an emergency key, if it's probably a patio application. But here we go. 0418 LTP, that means less thumb piece, and then you would specify that separately. 0413, contemporary mortise bolt. 0414 is going to be likely the only difference is going to be the thumb turn. You've got contemporary with this round one, thumb turn, and then traditional with this oval shaped that you see here. 0418 is 2 3/8. 0413 is the 2 3/4 version of that. There it is, just the business end alone. Those different thumb turns are available here. I happen to like that contemporary, which is the 6750. So this is an 0418 by 6750 by 055, piece of hardware. The 6764, that's a common thumb turn as well, but they're all here. These are other turn knobs that could be used in the sense of they are a component of that entire thumb turn above. The 6750, that thumb turn alone is going to be the 6720. Emergency releases are on the next page. You will want to specify one of these. If this was going to be completed, be an 0418 by 6750 by 0403 emergency release trim and the 0417. Oh, well, it's an 0413 is an 0417 key with the 6701 cover is what an 0403 is. So mortise bolt, thumb turn, emergency cover. And that's how that part number would go. And when it comes to Baldwin, you are literally piecing all of the individual parts together. Takes some getting used to, but once you're familiar with how it works with Baldwin, you're pretty dangerous on your feet. It took me a while. I got pulled into doing Baldwin, and then I realized, oh, this stuff is a lot of work. And then I was presented with a couple of jobs that were, you know, $12,000 or $20,000 respectively. And through those jobs, you learn. You specify knobs, you specify roses, you specify latch bolts, you specify strike plates, you specify 2 1/8 inch hole adapters if you need them. And you just make sure that every component that you need to install that, you have covered in the part numbers you're using, and you will forever not make a mistake. It does help to have experience installing the material, which I very much did, so I knew all the different parts. So there you go. That's why I like this document, because you can easily walk through it. I'm less familiar with the newer documents. I don't think they're superior in how they're laid out. And the layout of that 10-year-old document is like the first Baldwin catalog I saw in the early 90s. Now, having said that, we've got a 1976 Baldwin catalog here, and that's here for fun. You want to see what they were making, oh, what is it now? 55 years ago, I suppose? No, not that long. 45 years ago? Here it is. Great quality material. Any archival catalogs that we do have for manufacturers, we do list on their pages right here. Let's wrap up this video on camera. If you've made it this far into this video, you must be determined to see it through to the end, and we appreciate your hanging in there with us and watching this entire video. It means a lot. It takes a lot of work to create these videos in the sense that you know, it's time taken away from doing other things. However, the advantage for me personally of creating these videos is the fact that it does allow myself to either learn about something new, to reacquaint myself with something, or to reinforce what I believe that I already know. Any comments that you might leave down below would be greatly appreciated. Thank you. Now, I'll tell you that I'm an unabashed, unapologetic fan of Baldwin, and it's because a number of things. First of all, their quality is extremely impressive. It's solid brass. It's made extremely well by people who know how to manufacture material. So I'm always impressed with their quality. Now, I'm also impressed with the truth that there have been instances where a customer has called there and said, hey, this part is broken. What can I do? What do you have? And the factory finds out what they have, and they said, give me your address. I'll mail one to you. Now, I'm not saying they're going to do that for you, but I've heard that story a number of times. In addition to that, I have personally called them and said, hey, this is broken. What can you do? Give me your address. I got one on my desk. I'll mail it to you. That's crazy. No, there's no hardware manufacturer that does that. Baldwin has. I have called them. Let me back up. I have a customer in New England. I need to order 2 mortise locks. Whoa, hold on. What? Why? What happened? Well, one of them doesn't work well. A spring is broken. Okay, well, why are you buying 2? Well, I want them to match. I says, okay, that's easy. I can take an order. Write it down. What mortise body do you need? What back set? What function? What finish? What trim? What lever knob rose on the inside? What thumb turn? What emergency release? What cylinder? How thick is the door? What hand is the door? What's the door made of? I can do all that. I can take a credit card. I'm actually good at that. But I says, wait a minute. Taking your money is easy. Getting you new hardware, that's easy. It's on the shelf. But let's investigate what you actually need. Well, the client was willing to take it apart, open up the case, and emailed me a photo, and I could clearly see the spring that was broken. I called Baldwin, and tech support. Oh, okay, one moment. Actually, no. Tech support. I can help you. The person who answered the phone. I almost never have to get past that person. I have a mortise lock with a broken spring. I'm wondering if the modern spring will fit in it. Hang on one second. They transfer me to a gentleman. There's usually a gal that I speak to first, and I don't know if it's the same person, but hardly anything gets past that lady. She's very, 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 very expert. The gentleman says to me, "Is the color of that case blue?" I says, "Yep." "When do you think it's from?" "About 1977. He's like, "I was working on the manufacturing line in 1977. I may have put that lock together." He knew exactly what I needed, and you know what the next thing he said was? "Give me your address, I'll mail you one." So I was able to go back to the client and say, "Hey, listen, we can always take your money and sell you locks. We just don't need to in this case." Sometimes for clients it's a little deflating to come back to a position where they don't have to spend all that money, but I think in the long term they really appreciate the fact that someone goes out of their way to find a spring, and that's where Baldwin comes in. And frankly, that's my experience with Baldwin. Baldwin is a part of the ladder of costs of material. Below Baldwin, you're going to have your MTECs and your Omnias, your Schlags, your Quicksets, other decorative hardware. Above Baldwin, you're going to get into your boutique manufacturers, Rocky Mountain and other names that will be boutique manufacturers, where you'll pay $400 for a pair of knobs alone. Depending on the size of the house, if you're going to quote Omnia, MTEC, and Baldwin, if it's a small house, those lines don't diverge very much. But if it's a very large house, 3, 4, 5, 10,000 square feet, that Baldwin cost really rockets up, because you don't have 18 doors, you've got 78 doors. Okay, and that's where some people say, "Yeah, I would like to use Baldwin, but it's a 3,500 square foot home, and I've just got too much." And that's where a lot of people get to with it as well. My opinion of the matter, though, is a company that manufactures material that has the support that they have, that you can buy just parts when you need them. Baldwin is really good at that. It's not the same for other manufacturers where you can get a spring. Whether or not that customer had to pay for that spring is regardless. The fact that I was able to get one, even if it cost $20, doesn't matter. It was not a $1,500 repair job. That's the point. That's the reason that you may consider investing in what would likely be more expensive on the front end, because on the back end is where you're going to save it. Any questions on the 0418 Mortise bolt or any other Baldwin product, let us know. This is available in countless finishes from Baldwin. This video happens to be just 055 lifetime polished nickel. Thank you very much. Again, thank you for watching, and if you've enjoyed this video, please click thumbs up. Please subscribe and maybe even send the video to someone that you know. Thank you.